Hello, everyone. My name is Dee Houston. I'm the Summer Food Program Specialist with the Oklahoma State Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. I will be your trainer today for the Summer Food Service Training. Welcome to Planning Your Summer Food Service Program Eligibility. Training for Summer Food Service Program, which is also known as SFSP, hosted again by myself, Dee Houston, and the Oklahoma State Department of Education, referred to in this training as the state agency. During the training, when directed to the web page, this will always refer you to the OSDE SFSP webpage at sde.ok.gov/summer food, all one word, unless otherwise specified. In this training, we'll review information on how to determine the eligibility of a child, how to determine the eligibility of a sponsor, and the different types of summer food service program sites. Children aged 18 and under may receive meals through SFSP. A person 19 years of age and over who has a mental or physical disability as determined by a state or local educational agency and who participates during the school year in a public or private nonprofit school program is also eligible to receive meals. Only certain types of organizations can sponsor the program. Sponsors must be a public or private nonprofit school food authority, a public or private nonprofit residential camp, a public or private nonprofit college or university participating in the National Youth Sports Program, a unit of local, county, municipal, state, or federal government, tribal organizations and or reservations, an upward bound program, migrant centers, or other type of private nonprofit organization. Special rules apply to private nonprofit organizations. Private nonprofit sponsors must be tax exempt under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Sponsors must submit a certificate in good standing with the Secretary of State. From each state, your organization participates in the Summer Food Service Program. So if you participate in Oklahoma and also in Arkansas, then you will submit a certificate in good standing with the Secretary of State for the state of Oklahoma and for the state of Arkansas to us here at the state agency. Although churches must be tax exempt, there is no federal requirement that they provide documentation of their tax exempt status. All of the private nonprofit organizations must provide documentation from the IRS of their tax exempt status. Sponsors must demonstrate financial and administrative capability. Potential and returning sponsors with serious deficiencies are required to demonstrate that they have the necessary financial and administrative capability to comply with program requirements. They must accept final financial and administrative responsibility for each and every one of their sites. A pre-application form titled Summer Food Service Program Viability, Capability, and Accountability, which we'll also refer to as VCA checklist, is required for private nonprofits. Sponsors must not be seriously deficient. To be approved, applicants must not have been declared seriously deficient or terminated from the Summer Food Service Program or any other federal child nutrition program in previous years. However, such an applicant may be approved if the state agency determines that it has taken appropriate corrective actions to prevent recurrence of the deficiencies and has repaid any outstanding debts. Sponsors also must serve low-income children. Sponsors must agree to provide regularly scheduled meal service for children in designated low-income areas. Camps do not need to meet this criterion. Sponsors of both residential and non-residential camps do not have to establish area eligibility. However, they must collect and maintain individual income eligibility forms. Camps are reimbursed only for those enrolled children who meet the free and or reduced price eligibility standards. Sponsors must also conduct a nonprofit food service. Sponsors must conduct food services through the summer food service program that are not for profit. A sponsor is operating a nonprofit food service if the food service operations conducted by the institution are principally for the benefit of participating children, and all of the program reimbursement funds are used solely for the operation or improvement of such food service. This does not mean the program must break even or operate at a loss, but that income must be used for the sole purpose of operating a nonprofit food service. Sponsors must provide year-round service. Prior to beginning the summer food service program, sponsors must provide a year-round public service for a minimum of 6 months to the area in which they intend to provide the summer food service program. The state agency may grant exceptions to this year-round service requirement for sponsors of residential camps and migrant sites. Sponsors must exercise management control over their sites. New applicants and returning sponsors must demonstrate in their application that they will exercise management control over the meal service at each of their sites. Management control of the meal service means that the sponsor is responsible for maintaining contact with meal service staff, ensuring that there is adequately trained meal service staff on site, and monitoring site operations throughout the period of program participation. Sponsors must not delegate management responsibilities below the sponsor level. The quality of the meal service, the conduct of the personnel, and the adequacy of record keeping reflected directly upon the sponsor's performance. This performance is subject to audit by the state agency, USDA Office of Inspector General, and the Government Accountability Office at any time. Sponsors must conduct pre-operational visits. Sponsors must certify that all sites have been visited and can provide meal service for the number of children as planned. This is also required for sites that had operational problems in the previous year. And sponsors must sign written agreements. Approved sponsors must sign a written permanent agreement with the state agency. Sponsors may operate the summer food service program at one or more sites, which are the actual locations where meals are served and children eat in a supervised setting. Eligible sites are those that serve children in low-income areas or those that serve specific groups of low-income children. Sponsors must provide documentation that proposed sites meet the income eligibility criteria required by law. There are 3 common types of sites: open sites, camps that can be residential or non-residential, and closed enrolled sites. Excuse me. An open site is the most common type of site. Most sponsors establish site eligibility on need and openness. If a site is located in a needy area where 50% or more of the children residing in the area are eligible for free or reduced price school meals, and meals are made available to all children in the area on a first come, first served basis, these sites are considered open. Sponsors of open sites must take the necessary steps to allow meal service access to all children requesting a meal at the site. Information regarding the meal service at open sites must be publicized in the community served. A restricted open site. On occasion, a sponsor that would normally operate an open site, meaning initially open to the broad community participation, must restrict or limit the feeding site's attendance for reasons of space, security, safety, or control. In recognition of these circumstances, these types of sites operate as restricted open sites. The sponsors must make known publicly that the site is open on a first come, first served basis to all children of the community at large, but the meal service will be limited as stated for one of the reasons above. Both open and restricted open sites must be located in a school attendance area where 50% or more of the children residing in the area are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. This percentage must be documented by data provided by public and nonprofit private school officials, census data, welfare or education agencies, zoning commissions, or other appropriate sources. To qualify as a restricted open site, the site initially must be open to broad community participation from the eligible area in which it is located. The only limits that may be imposed on the participation are, again, limits for reasons of security, safety, or control, and approved by the state agency. Camps can be residential or non-residential day camps which offer regularly scheduled food service as part of an organized program for enrolled children. In residential camps, participants spend the duration of the organized program in a 24-hour supervised care setting and receive a regularly scheduled food service as part of their program. Sponsors of non-residential campsites must offer a continuous schedule of organized cultural or recreational programs for enrolled children between meal services. Unlike open, restricted open, and closed enrolled sites, sponsors of both residential and non-residential camps do not have to establish area eligibility. However, they must collect and maintain individual income eligibility forms. And again, camps are reimbursed only for those enrolled children who meet the free and/or reduced price eligibility standards. Closed enrolled sites is another type of site that is usually established where an identified group of needy children live in a pocket of poverty. Identified low-income children are transported to a congregate meal site located in an area with less than 50% eligible children, or a program provides recreational, cultural, religious, or other types of organized activities for a specific group of children. These types of sites are open to enrolled children or to an identified group of children as opposed to the community at large. Closed enrolled sites must establish eligibility through the individual income eligibility of the children attending the site. To establish eligibility based on the income of an individual children, sites must collect income eligibility forms. At least 50% of the enrolled children at the site must be eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Accredited summer schools do not qualify as closed enrolled sites and should obtain and serve reimbursable meals under the Seamless Summer option, which is an extension of your National School Lunch Program. In addition, residential and non-residential camps may not use area eligibility to establish site eligibility. Excuse me. The state agency may approve meal service sites which are not identified as nonprofit locations if at the sites the sponsor has maintained all responsibility for site operations, the sponsor operates as open sites or restricted open sites, and the sites are located in an area in which at least 50% of the children are qualified for free or reduced price school meals. If approved to operate the meal service at a for-profit site, the sponsor must maintain operational control over the meal service at the site and must ensure that no summer food service program funds are provided to the site. The site operators may not prepare the meals, and funds may not be provided, given, or otherwise paid to the site to employ site staff. Only the sponsor's trained staff and volunteers and sponsor trained site staff serving as volunteers are permitted to distribute the meals. So example of a for-profit site would be like an apartment complex. It's a for-profit site because the people residing there pay rent to live there. So the complex profits from the rent of the families that live there. So if you have a site at a for-profit site like an apartment complex, the sponsor must, you and your staff, you as the sponsor and your staff must prepare the meals, must take them there, and must serve them. You cannot use any of the apartment complex parents or staff to help you serve the meals. It must always be your staff only. A tribal government is recognized as a public entity or local government when consistent with state law. Thus, a tribal government may sponsor summer food service program sites assuming other eligibility requirements are met. A tribal government granted nonprofit status would be considered a private nonprofit entity for purposes of the summer food service program, and therefore could act as a sponsor of summer food service program sites assuming other eligibility requirements are met. The two primary sources of data that may be used to determine whether the area that will be served is eligible are school data or census data. School data can be obtained from the school or by contacting the state agency. Census data can be obtained by using the USDA Area Eligibility Mapper or the FRAC map located on the web page here on the slide. School data may be used to establish area eligibility, excluding camps. In order for a site to be determined area eligible, school data must indicate the proposed meal site is located in the school attendance area where at least 50% of the children are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. To qualify sites, sponsors may use data from elementary, middle, or high schools as long as the site is located in the attendance area of the school. This data should be based on the percentage of children in the school attendance area that are certified eligible for free or reduced price school meals, not the actual school meal participation rates. School data, once established, is valid for 5 years. Go to https://www.fns.usda.gov/area-eligibility to determine if the site is eligible. If you have problems finding out if a site is eligible, you can also contact us here at the state agency or contact myself, and we will help you determine whether that site is in an eligible area or not. In school districts where busing or school choice policies are in place, sponsors may always rely on the individual school if the site is located in the school from which free and reduced price meal eligibility data is obtained. Additionally, where busing or school choice policies are in place, but school attendance areas are still defined, school and non-school site eligibility may be determined based on the enrollment or attendance date obtained for the school the children attend or the school the children would have attended, i.e. the neighborhood school where the children live, were it not for the school's busing or school choice policy. Program sponsors may determine a site to be area eligible under the second option described above only if the school food authority is able to document the percentage of children eligible for free and reduced price school meals at each school before students are reassigned. The same method must be used for all sites participating under a particular program to avoid duplicate counting. If the school district does not have defined school attendance areas, the use of school data is not permitted for non-school sites. In this case, census data must be used to determine area eligibility for National School Lunch Program and Summer Food Service Program. Please note that census data may be used as a first choice for determining area eligibility for National School Lunch Program and Summer Food Service Program, rather than using the options described above, even if school attendance areas are defined. Excuse me. Sponsors also may document the area eligibility of their proposed open or restricted open sites on the basis of census data. Summer food service program sites that choose to establish eligibility using census data are required to use the most recent data available. Census data is valid for 5 years once established and then must be reassessed after the 5th year. The FRAC map and the USDA Area Eligibility Mapper, the website here on your slide, are excellent resources and are located on our webpage also. Sponsors that operate residential summer camps and non-residential day camps offering both organized programming and a regularly scheduled food service may participate in the summer program. Non-residential day camps may participate only as sites under eligible sponsoring organizations. Enrolled for-profit sites or for-profit camps are not eligible for participation in the summer food service program. Unlike other types of sites, camps do not have to establish income eligibility at the 50% level. Instead, camps are reimbursed only for meals served to children who meet the income eligibility criteria. In order to determine eligibility for children, camp sponsors may use the income eligibility form or rely on lists of income eligible children provided by the school system. However, the state agency may require camp sponsors to use the income eligibility form. The application can be found on the webpage under forms. Sponsors of camps are not required to submit the approved income eligibility form or school list of eligible children to the state agency, but you must have them on file because we will look at them if we come out on a review. However, sorry, I just jumped myself. They must maintain the list or original approved forms for all eligible children in separate files for each camp session. And again, like I said, the documents must be available for review by the state agency. Excuse me. To qualify as a closed enrolled site, at least 50% of the enrolled children must be from households that meet the income eligibility guidelines. Sponsors can document an enrolled site's eligibility by obtaining lists by name and eligibility status of enrolled children for free and reduced price meals from schools where the children receive school lunch or breakfast. Parental consent forms are not required in order for the local school food authority to provide this information to summer food service program sponsors. And you can also obtain this data by asking the parent or guardian of each enrolled child to complete an income eligibility form. As part of the application process, sponsors of closed enrolled sites must provide the state agency with a statement of how they intend to document summer food service program eligibility using one of the methods listed on the previous slide, an estimate of the total number of children enrolled at the site, and an estimate of the number of children enrolled at the site that are documented as eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Sponsors can use documentation of enrolled Head Start or Early Head Start participants provided and certified by a Head Start or Early Head Start grantee to document the eligibility of the summer food service program closed enrolled sites. Sponsors should contact the state agency if they have questions on the use of Head Start or Early Head Start eligibility forms for this purpose. Summer food service sponsors of closed enrolled and campsites must collect and report to the state agency the income eligibility information to determine the eligibility of individual participants for free meals under the summer food service program. Such information must be updated annually and may not be more than 12 months old. Income eligibility forms should be considered current and valid until the last day of the month in which the form was dated 1 year earlier. This means that a form signed and dated by a sponsor on June 1st of 2022 is considered valid until June 30th of 2023. Both school data and census data, once established, are valid for 5 years. If sponsors are unable to document the needs of their areas or site by using sources such as current year school data, recent census tract or block group data, enrollment data, or migrant children status, they should consult with the state agency about the possibility of using other types of data, e.g. local zoning data, housing authority information, economic surveys, etc., to document site eligibility. For example, if the proposed site is at a public housing development and school and census data cannot qualify the site as area eligible, the state agency could assess the income eligibility requirements of the public housing development. If the income eligibility requirements are less than or equal to the summer food service program income guidelines, then the proposed site could be determined area eligible. Also, sponsors offering the program at sites located on Indian reservations may obtain and submit statistics of the population from one of the 12 Bureau of Indian Affairs offices. The income eligibility application form is used to determine the income eligibility of enrolled children for all camps, residential and non-residential, and closed enrolled sites. Information collected on the application includes household size and income, or the case number for benefits received under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, and used to be formerly called food stamps, temporary assistance to needy families, which we call TANF, or food distribution programs on Indian reservations, which we call FDPR. Note, if one child in a household is receiving SNAP, FITPER, or TANF benefits, all other children in the household are categorically eligible to participate in the summer food service program. As an alternative to collecting individual income eligibility forms, the community eligibility provision, which we call CEP, allows schools and local education agencies with a high percentage of low-income children to offer free meals to all students. Qualifying schools serve free lunch and breakfast through the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. Area eligibility determinations based on data from schools electing CEP as part of a group of schools or an entire school district must still use the individual school data rather than the district-wide data for summer food service program sites. The individual school data can be obtained by multiplying the most current school level identified student percentage by the 1.6 factor. If the result is equal to or greater than 50%, meal sites located in the attendance area of the school are area eligible. If a school electing CEP collects alternate household income information to be used for other purposes, school data based on these applications may not be used to determine eligibility. So to reflect on that again, if you're a school district and you have CEP sites or your entire district is CEP, you cannot use your group or your entire district percentage, let's say is 85%, to qualify your sites. You have to go back and look at each individual site's percentage and multiply it by 1.6, and it has to be 50% or more for that site to be able to participate in the summer food service program. Area eligibility also may be established by using documentation from other approved sources to demonstrate that 50% or more of the children in a defined area are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Eligibility determinations using approved alternative data also remain in effect for 5 years once established. Approved alternative data sources may include Department of Human Services, zoning commissions, USDA's Rural Development Housing Authorities, Housing and Urban Development Housing Authorities, which are also known as HUD, and local housing authorities. For example, if a summer food service program site is located in a HUD housing authority development and it does not qualify based on school or census data, the site may be considered area eligible using HUD data if the residents of the housing development meet income eligibility requirements that are equivalent to or more restrictive than the summer food service program requirements. Sponsors should work with the state agency and with the agency that maintains the data to confirm this information. I so far have never had a reason for us to use these sources. So if they arise, please contact me and we will determine together whether your site you're looking at qualifies or not. Children enrolled in federal and state funded Head Start or Early Head Start programs are categorically eligible for free meals in the summer food service program without further application. Sponsors may establish eligibility of all Head Start enrollees through documentation provided by the Head Start program. Forms of acceptance documentation include an approved Head Start application, a statement of Head Start enrollment, or a list of participants from a Head Start official, and make sure that Head Start official signs that list they provide for you. Excuse me. Sponsors may use income eligibility forms from other programs that base their eligibility on the same criteria as the summer food service program, but should contact the state agency to verify that the same thresholds and definitions are used for both programs. For example, sponsors can use documentation of income eligible upward bound participants. Upward Bound is a program funded by the U.S. Department of Education to provide academic support to teens from low-income families preparing for college. While participants in Upward Bound are not categorically eligible for free or reduced price meals under the summer food service program, sponsors of Upward Bound programs may use an Upward Bound application in lieu of a confidential family application for free and reduced price meals form to determine individual eligibility. Those children who are determined eligible for upward bound based on income may be considered eligible for summer food service program meals without further application. However, participants who are determined eligible for upward bound based on criteria other than income, such as being a potential first-generation college student, must complete the income eligibility form in order to determine income eligibility for the summer food service program. Migrant site eligibility is based upon a determination that the site predominantly serves children of migrant workers. The sites operate like area eligible open or restricted open sites and are reimbursed for meals served to all attending children. The determination of site eligibility based upon migrant status must be updated annually. To confirm migrant status, sponsors must submit information obtained from a migrant organization that certifies that the site serves a majority of children of migrant workers. If the site also serves non-migrant children, the sponsor must certify that the site predominantly serves migrant children. This status information must be updated annually. To further reflect on this, migrant sites are, I never had one on the summer program yet, the years I've been doing it, but it's a site where, for example, it's time to do harvest at farms and they bring in multiple workers and their families from other states or even other countries. And then they get, and so if most of those families qualify for free meals and stuff, then you can have a site there serving those migrant workers' children. Again, contact myself at the state agency if that arises, because I've never had that happen before. We'll research it and make sure we can qualify that site. Schools offering academic summer school programs may be reimbursed for serving meals during the summer in 3 ways: through the summer food service program, the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program, or the National School Lunch Program Seamless Summer Option, also known as SSO. Schools wishing to serve meals only to children enrolled in summer school programs may receive reimbursement only through Seamless Summer Option, National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. Seamless Summer is an extension of the National School Lunch Program. And the reason why this is saying, if you're going to have a summer school and you're only going to feed your enrolled summer school kids, you must apply for Seamless Summer, which is an extension of your National School Lunch Program. This is for schools only. And you must serve them under that program, because under the Summer Food Service Program, schools are not allowed to be closed enrolled. If, in addition to serving children enrolled in summer school, the school plans to serve children in the community at large, then it may operate an open site through the Summer Food Service Program or even SSO as described below. However, the school must ensure these sites are open not only to children enrolled in summer school, but also to any children residing in the area served by the site. Schools that operate summer school programs may not enroll in the Summer Food Service Program as a restricted open site instead of an open site, so that meals may be served only to summer school participants. This is not the intent of the restricted open site option, and it is an unauthorized use of this site designation. Purpose of the restricted open site designation in the Summer Food Service Program is to allow sponsors that want to operate an open site to restrict or limit site participation due to reasons of space, security, safety, or control. CACFP, which stands for Child and Adult Care Food Program, institutions may have sufficient changes in activities, enrollment, or develop a separate food service program for children who are not enrolled in the CACFP and meet Summer Food Service Program eligibility criteria. May be approved to participate in the Summer Food Service Program. Institutions that are approved for both CACFP and Summer Food Service Program must ensure that the same children are not served meals in both programs. You cannot double dip. Separate records must be kept for each program. Institutions may not switch back and forth between participation in CACFP and participation in the summer program to serve the same children. Institutions may not establish separate entities using separate tax identification numbers to serve the same children under different child nutrition programs in order to avoid program restrictions or to earn higher reimbursement. However, if there is a legitimate need for a separate organization and it meets the requirements in the preceding paragraph, then it may be approved to participate in summer program. Excuse me. In an effort to improve participation in the summer program by eligible institutions, some application requirements for CACFP institutions in good standing that wish to apply to participate in the summer program for the first time have been waived. Good standing means those that have not been found to be seriously deficient in program operations. CACFP institutions that want to operate the summer program at the same sites where they provide meal service through CACFP may follow the application requirements for experienced summer food service program sponsors and sites instead of the application requirements for new sponsors. This provision will be most applicable to after-school at-risk meals and snack programs. Because most after-school at-risk programs may not receive reimbursement during the summer months, we encourage these programs to convert to the summer food service program for the summer. In that case, they can serve the same children that they serve during the school year. In other cases, however, CACFP institutions that wish to participate in the summer program must serve children who would otherwise not be served under CACFP. Institutions may not switch programs simply to receive a higher reimbursement in summer months. Okay, so hold on just one moment. And we are going to the next PowerPoint slide section. And this section is going to talk about evaluating and selecting sponsors and sites. In this training, we will review information on what to look for when selecting program sites, operating limitations, the sponsor site agreement, and requirements to meet before opening a site. Confusion and waste result when two or more sponsors compete for the same sites or target children in the same geographical area. Since such an overlap in service conflicts with program objectives, the state agency usually approves only one sponsor to serve an area. When determining which of the competing sponsors will serve an area, the National School Lunch Act requires the state agency to give priority to number one, local school food authority sponsors, two, government and private nonprofit organization sponsors that have successfully operated the summer program in a prior year, three, new government sponsoring organizations, and four, new private nonprofit organization sponsors. Sponsors should be able to explain why differences in the population of children they intend to serve require multiple sites in close proximity to each other. Sites also may be close in proximity, but separated by a physical barrier that limits access, such as a busy highway. So it's a case-by-case basis. You'll have to please contact me and we will determine whether specific sites can be very close to each other or not. We always look at that before we approve sites that you request to have on your program. The sponsor must evaluate adequately the needs and resources of the areas it hopes to serve before making final plans for site operations. In particular, the sponsor should try to determine the type and size of the program that would best meet the needs of the community. As part of the inquiry into the community's needs, the sponsor may contact parks and recreation centers about their summer recreation programs, youth organizations including YMCAs, YWCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, and Scout troops about their summer plans, the local food bank or pantry to ask about opportunities to partner in the community, minority referral sources and relevant minority organizations in the prospective site area, other groups and organizations in the area that may be planning to participate in the summer food service program, local parent groups to determine the level of parental support, and local church or faith-based organizations about their summer programs. Sorry, let's stick with this slide. After sponsors have made these initial contacts in any areas they hope to serve, they will have an easier time evaluating different potential sites and deciding on the size of their operations. Sponsors will have to make 3 especially important decisions: how many sites they will sponsor during the summer. If you are a new sponsor, the state agency recommends that you have no more than 3 sites your first year, because we want you to succeed and we don't want you to overwhelm yourself. Another important decision is how many children they will serve at each site they sponsor, and at which sites they will serve meals to children, closely examining the circumstances if they plan to have several sites in the same neighborhood. Taking particular care in making these decisions before programs start may prevent problems later. Organizations may be approved to sponsor summer food service program sites located in any state, regardless of whether the sponsor is physically located within the boundaries of the state where the proposed site is located. Sponsors not located within the state where a proposed site is located must take additional measures to ensure the state agency is able to complete its monitoring duties. To better facilitate the state agency's monitoring of multi-state sponsors, these sponsors must make requested materials available in the state where their proposed sites are located. And again, they must submit a certificate in good standing from the Secretary of State in each state where participating in the summer food service program. Excuse me. Sorry about that. The state agency may approve only sites that are located within Oklahoma. Sponsors must enter into an agreement with the state agency for each state where its sites are located, regardless of where the sponsor itself is actually based. Therefore, when a sponsor is located in one state and operates a summer program sites in other states, the sponsor must enter an agreement with the administering agencies in each of the states where the sponsor has a site. Because sponsors must assume administrative and financial responsibility for total summer food service program operations at all sites under their supervision, it must be certain that a site can offer a quality meal service before they decide to sponsor that site. Sponsors should not select sites where site supervisors have had a poor performance record in past summers, or where supervisors were unable to institute timely corrective action. In addition, depending on the nature of these problems, the state agency may choose not to approve such sites for the program. Sponsors are responsible for choosing the most appropriate facilities available for food service. If sponsors prefer on-site meal preparation, they should visit all sites to ensure that sites are properly equipped with the appropriate facilities and equipment for meal preparation and service for the anticipated number of children. Ensure that sites will be appropriately staffed, both in quantity and skill level, to use available equipment to meet anticipated demands for meal preparation and service. And it must check that sites can meet state and local public health standards and have or can obtain any required health department certification. The sanitation or health inspector from the local health department can assist in complying with state and local rules and regulations. Sponsors must send a letter on sponsor letterhead to the health department of intent to participate in the summer program and list each of their sites and then what meals you're going to serve and the meal times. Because of the many variables at different sites, the kinds of equipment that will be needed will vary based on the number of children being served and the type of menu being prepared. If a sponsor plans to have the meals prepared or delivered by a food service management company, school food service, or a central kitchen, the preparation, holding, and delivery capabilities should be checked. Summer food service program sponsors are required to enter an agreement with the state agency that their sites will maintain proper sanitation and health standards in conformance with all applicable state and local laws and regulations. Some summer food service program facilities may not be required to meet all state and local and health safety requirements. For example, those that do not prepare food on site. However, a summer food service program sponsor may not be declared exempt from state, local health and safety requirements by the state agency. Only the state agency that enforces these requirements may exempt sponsors from documenting adherence to the full requirements. This exemption should be documented in writing by the relevant state agency. Regardless of an exemption, there must be some level of health and safety standards in place to ensure adequate facilities are available to prepare and or store meals. Traditionally, summer food service program sites are located in schools, playgrounds, parks, faith-based organizations, community buildings, or similar places. I'm sorry, hang on. I think we're on the wrong slide. Okay, sorry about that. Mobile feeding may provide the flexibility sponsors need to reach children who do not have access to such traditional sites. In rural areas where children may live in isolated locations, access to meal service sites operated by schools, parks, and recreation departments and private nonprofit organizations is often limited. In urban areas, violence and traffic safety concerns are examples of issues that may limit viable options for site locations. In mobile feeding, the sponsor delivers meals to an area using a route with a series of stops at approved sites in the community. The meal service must take place on approved days, and the sponsor must serve reimbursable meals during the entire approved serving time. Sponsors must ensure that all state and local public health standards have been met and have or can obtain any required health department certification. In addition, sponsor staff of the mobile site must serve the meal, clean up after the meal, ensure safe and sanitary conditions, ensure the safety of food and comply with local health and safety standards, account for all meals, ensure that children eat all meals on site, ensure meals offered meet meal pattern requirements, and take accurate meal counts at point of service. Those of you that don't know what point of service is, that means there needs to be an individual at the end of your line where you've set up your meals to serve, and they must check the children off on the daily meal count sheet, one number at a time. Like if first child walks through and they observe it's a reimbursable meal, then they'll draw a line through the number one, then the number two, etc. That's what point of service count means. You have to mark it as each child walks by you with a reimbursable meal. You can't mark up to number 5 and say, okay, I've got them to the little boy in a red shirt. That's not proper point of sale counting. If you have questions or concerns about that, of course, please contact me. Concerns for the physical health and safety of the children, lack of comfortable feeding areas, and consideration of extreme weather conditions must be addressed by the state agency when a site is being approved. Although all summer food service program sites are not required to have an alternative temperature-controlled site, sponsors should have a contingency plan for dealing with extreme weather conditions, such as thunderstorms and excessive heat that we are well known to have here in Oklahoma. For outdoor sites, this plan could include discontinuing meal service when weather conditions make being outside unsafe for children. Alternatively, for extremely hot days, sponsors can identify a shady spot, erect a tent, or make arrangements with a housing community to use an air-conditioned lobby or community room. USDA has extended the demonstration project for the summer. Under the demonstration project, Summer Food Service Program and Seamless Summer Option sponsors operating approved outdoor meal sites without temperature-controlled alternative sites may operate as non-congregate sites on days when the area is experiencing excessive heat. Non-congregate meal service shall be permitted only on days when the National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory, excessive heat warning, or excessive heat watch for the area for which an approved outdoor meal site is located. And if that happens, you must go onto the internet and print off that heat advisory, excessive heat warning, or excessive heat watch. Send that to me, email that to me, and tell me that you're allowing the children to take their meal home on that specific day because of weather. If you do not send that to me and you allow them to send you allow them to take those meals home instead of eating them on site, you will not be reimbursed for that day. You will not get meal reimbursement for that day. You must follow all the rules and everything, please. Okay, sorry, wait a minute. My slides are jumping on. There we go. Sorry about that. According to program meal service requirements, sponsors should assess how much supervision will be necessary to ensure proper program operations. These supervisory needs will differ from site to site. For mobile feeding sites, extra precautions should be established to ensure the safety of the food being provided to children. Proper holding temperatures must be maintained along the entire meal delivery route, and the state and local health and safety standards must be met. In addition, sponsors have to decide how many sites to administer. This decision will depend greatly on the need for a site in the area, the administrative capabilities as a sponsor, and the size of the programs at the sites. Sponsors must be sure to plan to operate programs that are consistent with the size of their administrative staff and the extent of their expertise. A small sponsor with limited administrative experience should carefully place limits on the number of sites where it will offer meals. If a sponsor plans to administer a meal program at multiple unaffiliated sites, for example, recreation programs or vacation Bible schools, the sponsor should enter an agreement with the site supervisor or responsible site official. The agreement should list in specific terms the responsibilities of the site supervisor for the food service program, which will help the site supervisor understand his or her duties more easily. However, the agreement does not relieve the sponsor of final administrative and financial responsibility for operating summer food service program at the site, including the responsibility to maintain contact with meal service staff, ensure that there is adequately trained meal service staff on site, and monitor site operations. And that agreement form is on our website for your use if you have sites that you must enter an agreement with. Sponsors need to determine the maximum number of children who can be served at any of their sites. When estimating the number of children to be served at each site, you must consider the site's administrative capabilities, the physical capacity at each site for serving the children, and the number of children living in the area of each site who are likely to participate. The importance of estimating as accurately as possible the number of children each site will serve cannot be overemphasized. Adequate program planning requires an accurate estimate of the number of children who will be served so the total potential reimbursement can be calculated. For new sites, an excellent way to estimate the potential number of participating children is to contact schools and other children's organizations in the area of the site to determine the number of needy children within a short walking distance of the site. To reduce waste, meal orders should be adjusted after the program starts if fewer children than anticipated participate. For returning sites, participation from the previous summer normally provides an accurate estimate of participation for the current summer. According to program requirements, the state agency must set limits on the number of meals the site may serve to children for meal reimbursement. This limit is referred to as the site cap. Site caps are required for all vended and self-prep sites by program regulations. A sponsor may not claim reimbursement for meals served to children at any site in excess of the approved level of meal service if one has been established. Therefore, a sponsor may not claim reimbursement for meals served to children in any site in excess of the cap. Why is my slides jumping? I apologize. I don't know why they're jumping. So you must find out at each location what the site cap is, which means how many people can be held in that specific dining room, for example. And you can never serve over that site cap. Now, let's say your capacity is 100. Now, you might serve 105 kids that day, but all 105 kids can't be in that building at the same time. In the summer program, they usually come and go. But if you ever have more, your capacity is 100, and you ever have more than 100 in that site at on a specific day, then you won't be able to claim those meals because you can never have more than capacity in that site. And also, the USDA has regulated that you must contact us, the state agency, if you have to change your site capacity before you issue a claim. If you tell us after you issue a claim, then your claim will not be allowed to be adjusted. Children are drawn to locations that offer educational, enrichment, and recreational activities, as well as sites that provide meals. Therefore, we strongly encourage sponsors to select sites or plan programs that offer such organized activities. The following examples are local libraries, swimming pools, faith-based organizations or churches that offer religious study day camp sessions, schools that offer various activities, Boys and Girls Clubs, programs at colleges and universities, 4-H clubs, YMCAs, National Youth Sports Programs, year-round public service programs offered in the community. In addition, sponsors should determine, and I just seen it do it that time, and I don't know why it did it. In addition, sponsors should determine whether there are any year-round public service programs in the community that might serve as sites. These sites usually have facilities that can be used for the meal service and have a permanent staff. Although it is not encouraged, summer food service program sites may charge a fee to participate in the activity portion of their program. However, the fees must be reasonable and not restrict access for low-income children. Also, access to the meal service at open sites must always be free. Once sites are identified, sponsors should ensure that area families are made aware of site locations and the availability of meals. Sponsors are encouraged to make use of FNS resources, including the Summer Meals Toolkit. You'll see the website here on the slide. This toolkit is designed for individuals and organizations interested in serving as summer meal champions in their communities at any level of program administration. The toolkit is web-based and includes 7 mini toolkits targeting specific audiences and topics. When sponsors have chosen their prospective sites, they must notify the health department in writing of all prospective site locations and arrange for prompt and regular trash removal. Sponsors must submit a copy of the letter notifying the local health department of their intention to provide a food service at a specific time at planned sites. Prior to approval, sponsors must visit new sites and any sites that had operational problems in the previous year. These visits are to determine that the sites have the facilities to provide meal service for the anticipated number of children in attendance and the capability to conduct the proposed meal service. Sponsors should note the date of the pre-operational visit to each site and the name of the person who visited each site. When a sponsor applies for the summer program, they will have to certify that all required site visits have been conducted. These pre-operational visits must not be confused with the required sites during the first 2 weeks of program operations. So this concludes this section of the PowerPoint, and now we're going to the next one, which is going to talk about meal service. In this training, we'll review information on different methods to provide meals, meal pattern requirements for meals you serve, what to do with leftovers, meal service requirements, and food safety rules. Before the state agency approves the program application, a sponsor will have to indicate the method it will use to provide meals to children. Several factors, such as cost of food, the number of meals required, the type of meal service, the number and type of sites, community dietary preferences, and the facilities available at each site will influence the sponsor's choice. Sponsors may choose from several methods for providing meals. Sponsors may prepare and assemble their own meals, obtain meals from a school food authority, or obtain meals from a food service management company. And you must check your contract with a food service management company if you're already with one, which would be a school district, to make sure that contract included the summer program. Many sponsors choose to prepare their own meals, which provides them with maximum control over the quality of preparation. Depending on the facilities available at its sites, the sponsor may prepare meals at each site location or at a central kitchen. Preparing meals at the site requires that each site have adequate kitchen and storage facilities. Sponsors preparing meals at a central kitchen must decide how to distribute the meals from the central kitchen to each site and safely deliver and store them until meal service. This plan must be submitted to the state agency for approval. If sponsors choose not to prepare meals for sites, they may enter an agreement to purchase meals from a school food service facility. Most schools have meal preparation and service facilities since they serve meals to children during the school year. Also, experienced school food service personnel are often available for summer jobs, so you may recruit them for your summer program. Sponsors that wish to obtain summer food service program meals from a school should contact the local school superintendent or the principals of local nonprofit private schools. School food authority sponsors who participate in the National School Lunch Program at any time during the summer food service program may substitute the meal pattern requirements of National School Lunch Program for the summer food service meal patterns requirements for meals served at school sites. State agency approval of the substitution is not required. However, meals served at non-school sites using National School Lunch Meal Pattern requirements by a school food authority sponsor requires state agency approval. If a non-school food authority sponsor purchasing meals from a school wishes to substitute the meal pattern requirements of NSLP National School Lunch for the summer food service program meal pattern requirements, a formal request for permission must be submitted to the state agency along with the application for program participation. Such an arrangement will require either a written agreement or a contract between the sponsor and the school food authority. In the summer food service program, the term food service management company is defined slightly different than in the other child nutrition programs. In the summer food service program, this means any commercial enterprise or nonprofit organization with which a sponsor may contract for preparing unitized meals, with or without milk, for use in the program, or for managing a sponsor's food service operations in accordance with the limitations set forth in the program regulations on management responsibilities of sponsors. All summer food service program sponsors may choose to contract with a food service management company or with a local school to obtain their meals. Generally, sponsors may not contract with a school using a food service management company unless the school's request for proposal, invitation for bid, and the contract with the food service management company included the provision of summer food service program meals. So if you're a school, double check your contract with the food service management company if you're with one, and make sure your contract included summer meals. Food service management companies and schools contracting to prepare summer food service program meals must provide unitized meals to the sponsor site unless the state agency has approved a waiver of the unitized meal program. Unitized meal requirement specifies that the meal components, except milk or juice, must be packaged, delivered, and served as a unit. So the whole unit must be delivered to you as a meal. The whole meal must be served to you or delivered to you as a unit. The milk can be separate, but milk must be served at summer meals. Milk or juice, which may be packed and provided separately, must be served with the meal, and only such complete meals are reimbursable. State agency representative must attend opening of all bids if totaling $150,000 or more. State agency must also visit all of the vendors or food service management company prep kitchen sites if the sponsor is up review for that year. So, for example, if you're purchasing meals from a food service company and you as a sponsor are chosen for review this year, then we must visit the facilities where your food service management company prepares your meals. That's part of the review process. Sponsors eligible to receive United States Department of Agricultural Foods under the Summer Food Service Program include sponsors preparing meals on site or at a central kitchen, sponsors purchasing meals from a school food authority that participates in National School Lunch, and school sponsors that procure their summer food service program meals from the same food service management company that competitively provided their most recent National School Lunch meals. The Oklahoma Department of Human Services will provide information about currently available commodities, which will be DOD only to the eligible sponsors. And DOD is Commodity Department of Defense money for produce. And they will contact you. They always get a list from me, the department that issues commodities, and they will contact you to see if you're interested in applying for commodities for your summer program. Excuse me. Serving local foods can improve meal quality and appeal. Sponsors can purchase local foods direct from farmers, from food service management companies, from food hubs, farmers markets, community supported agriculture, and school or community gardens. For more information, please see the local procurement in the administrative guide and visit USDA's Farm to School website. And the website is here on your slide for you. The incorporation of local food and agricultural education into the summer program can play an important role in creating and promoting a healthy environment. There is a well-established and growing public interest in supporting local and regional food systems by purchasing these foods and incorporating agricultural-based curriculum and activities in schools. Sponsors are therefore encouraged to use local food as a means to enhance child nutrition operations. There are several ways that sponsors could implement Farm to Summer. You might purchase from any of the sources listed on this slide, which are distributors, farmers, farmers markets, farm stands, local gardens, and community-supported agriculture. Meal services can be operated by different sponsors at a site. However, the site may not exceed the maximum number of meals allowed under the regulations. For example, if a sponsor is approved to serve only a lunch at a site, a different sponsor may be approved to serve breakfast or a snack at the same site, as long as the total number and type of meal services served at the site do not exceed the maximum allowed under the regulations, and the maximum number of meals allowed under regulations are 2. Sponsors may serve lunch and either breakfast or a snack. With state agency approval, sponsors may serve up to 2 meals or 1 meal and 1 snack each day. Allowable meal combinations include breakfast only, lunch and snack, breakfast and lunch, breakfast and supper, snack only, supper only, breakfast and snack, supper and snack, or 2 snacks. With state agency approval, camp or migrant site sponsors may serve up to 3 meals each day or 2 meals and 1 snack. Allowable meal combinations include breakfast, lunch, and supper, breakfast, lunch, and snack, or lunch, supper, and snack. Any combination of meals or snacks that is less than the maximum number allowed. The most important for a successful summer food service program is to serve nutritious meals that meet meal pattern requirements and are appetizing to children. Careful menu planning is necessary to meet this goal. The meal pattern requirements ensure well-balanced meals that supply the kinds and amounts of foods that children require to help meet their nutrient and energy needs. The meal patterns establish the minimum portions of the various meal components that must be served to each child in order for the participating sponsor to receive reimbursement for each meal. And you can find the Summer Food Service Program meal pattern on our webpage under resources. For breakfast to be a reimbursable meal, it must contain 1 serving of milk, 1 serving of a vegetable or fruit or full strength juice, and 1 serving of a grain or bread with 1 serving of meat or meat alternate optional. For a lunch or supper to be a reimbursable meal, it must contain 1 serving of milk, 2 or more servings of vegetables and or fruits, 1 serving of grain or bread, and 1 serving of meat or meat alternate optional. For a snack to be a reimbursable meal, it must contain 2 food items. Each item must be from a different food component. However, juice cannot be served when milk is served as the only other component. So you cannot just serve them milk and juice and say it's a snack. Sponsors are not required to accommodate dietary preferences, but are encouraged to do so within the existing meal patterns. However, sponsors are required to make substitutions or modifications to the meal patterns for participants with disabilities who are unable to consume the regular program meals when such substitutions are supported by a statement from a recognized medical authority that includes the required alternate foods. Additionally, substitutions may be made if individual children are unable, because of medical or other special dietary needs, not disabilities, to consume the foods required by the meal patterns. Such substitutions may be made only when supported by a statement from a recognized medical authority that includes the recommended alternate food. Schools participating in the Summer Food Service Program or Seamless Summer may offer a non-dairy milk substitute to a student with a medical or special dietary need other than a disability. Schools choosing to offer this option must follow the parent's request to have the milk substitute served to his or her child. Schools must receive a written request from a medical authority or the parent or guardian that identifies the student's medical or dietary reason for needing a milk substitute. Any reasonable reason for requesting that a milk substitute be served will be acceptable. Only milk substitutes that meet USDA's nutrient requirements may be served in order to receive reimbursement for these meals. Schools that decide not to offer milk substitutions for children with medical or special dietary needs must communicate this decision to all participants and households. Schools participating in National School Lunch are accustomed to preparing meals that meet federal nutritional requirements. Sponsors serving meals that are prepared in schools may, with prior state agency approval, use the meal requirements of those programs instead of summer meal patterns. School food authority sponsors may use the meal requirements of National School Lunch instead of summer food service meal patterns without obtaining state agency approval. This is for schools only. Offer versus serve is a concept that applies to menu planning and meal service, which allows children to decline some of the food offered in a reimbursable breakfast, lunch, or supper. This excludes snacks. The goals of offer versus serve are to simplify program administration and reduce food waste and costs while maintaining the nutritional integrity of the Summer Food Service Program meal that is served. Summer Food Service Program regulations indicate that offer versus serve is available only to school sponsors. For a meal to be eligible for reimbursement, all food components in the required minimum serving sizes must be offered. A food component is one of the food groups that comprise a reimbursable meal. Sites must always offer all the food components that comprise a reimbursable meal in at least the minimum required amounts. A food item is a specific food offered within the food components comprising the reimbursable meal. For example, separate 1/2 cup servings of peaches and pears are 2 food items that comprise one component, the fruit and vegetable component. Schools participating in the summer program and electing to follow the summer program meal patterns are required to follow the summer program offer versus serve requirements. Due to the distinguishing nature of the summer program and National School Lunch, including variations in settings and resources, the offer versus serve requirements in summer are different from offer versus serve requirements in National School Lunch. In order to ensure that children are receiving enough food to meet their nutritional needs, offer versus serve requirements in the summer program are as follows. At breakfast, the following 4 items must be offered through at least 4 different food items as follows. 1 serving of fruit or vegetable, 1 serving of bread alternate, 1 serving of fluid milk, 1 additional serving of fruit or vegetable, bread or bread alternate, or serving of meat or meat alternate. All the food items offered must be different from each other. A child must take at least 3 of any of the 4 food items offered. For lunch or supper, the following 4 food components, not items like breakfast, must be offered to at least 5 different food items. 1 serving of meat alternate, 2 servings of fruit and or vegetables, 2 different food items. So you can serve 2 fruits, but they have to be watermelon and oranges. They can't be oranges and mandarin oranges and oranges and orange, okay? 1 serving of bread alternate, and 1 serving of fluid milk. Lunch or supper offer versus serve requirements differ from breakfast in that a child must take at least 3 food components, not items, listed from the 5 listed food items offered. 3 food components are required for an adequate, nutritious meal for children. And of course, if you have questions, just contact us here at the state agency. Offering 2 servings of the same food item is not permissible under offer versus serve in the summer food program, like I just mentioned, the oranges. All food items offered must be different from each other. For example, a breakfast menu that includes a serving of milk, a serving of fruit, and 2 servings of toast is not a reimbursable meal under offer versus serve in the summer program because the toast is 2 of the same food item. Toast is toast. Whether it's regular toast or cinnamon toast, it's still bread, it's still toast. Additionally, a large food item that is worth 2 servings in weight, such as a 2-ounce muffin, counts as only 1 food item under offer versus serve in the summer program, not 2. Offering different food items supports and encourages the practice of offering a variety of food choices for children, which increases the likelihood that children will select food they prefer and reduces waste. School sponsors that elect to use the National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program meal patterns and schools operating in seamless summer are required to follow the offer versus serve requirements under National School Lunch only. So if you're going to participate in seamless summer and not this summer food service program, you must follow National School Lunch offer versus serve schools. All sponsors must plan, prepare, and order meals with the objective of providing 1 meal per child at each meal service. And all sponsors must ensure that entire meals and food components are not often left over and unusable. Sponsors should minimize the amount of waste and unusable leftovers. So suggestions for avoiding loss or at least reducing the amount of loss are sponsors should be monitoring site reports on the number of attending children and the number of delivered meals to reduce waste and cost. So you must monitor your daily meal counts at your sites every time and adjust how many meals should be prepared depending on your participation count. A limited number of second meals served at the unit can be claimed for reimbursement as long as the total number of second meals does not exceed 2% of first meals served by the sponsor for all sites during the claiming period. So it's up to you as a sponsor whether you offer second meals or not. You don't have to, it's not a requirement. If you serve a second meal and want reimbursed for that, it must be an entire second meal, including the milk. It must be the entire meal. And remember, as this says, you can only claim 2% of the meals for the entire month. So for the month of June, if you serve 300 lunches, you can only claim, 2% of those 300 meals as second meals. So it's a decision you really need to contemplate and think about because you're not going to be able to be reimbursed for very many of those meals. And please make sure you train your staff not to prepare extra food on purpose for second meals, especially if you don't allow them. Sponsors may designate a sharing table. You're gonna have to check with your local health department about that, especially with the pandemic still around and everything like that. Some health departments won't allow that. Where equipment is available, complete meals and non-perishable components that remain on a sharing table can be stored under refrigeration for subsequent service. The form of the food should be suitable to the age of children so that it can be easily consumed within the meal service period. For example, if fruit is cut into smaller pieces, it is easier for young children to eat. Keep in mind that the safety of the leftover meals must be maintained at all times. Meals or components that are transported or shared must be kept in compliance with all local health and safety standards. You must check your local county health department. If a site chooses to purchase additional food with summer food service program funds, the food must be accreditable food under the meal pattern requirements. Expenditures for food that may not be served as part of the reimbursable meal based on the summer meal pattern are not allowable costs. Condiments served with accreditable food are exempt from this restriction. Sites wishing to serve additional foods that do not meet summer meal pattern standards must use non-program funds. You must use your own organization or school funds to purchase foods that are not on the summer meal pattern, are not acceptable. Sites with additional funds available are encouraged to use the funds to improve the reimbursable meals served by using fresher, healthier, more nutritious products such as fresh fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and unprocessed cheeses. Candy, popsicle, and sweet items are not allowed because they are not foods that are reimbursed. In addition to serving meals that meet meal pattern requirements, sponsors must comply with the following rules when serving meals at each of their sites. Serve the same meal to all children. This means all children receive the meal meeting the meal pattern requirements, not that all meals must be identical in every component. Children with disabilities must be accommodated and therefore may not receive the same meal. Except where permitted by the state agency, ensure that children eat all meals on site. State agency allows items from the fruit vegetable component of the meal pattern to be taken off-site. That's not a requirement. That's a choice of yours as a sponsor. However, sponsors should allow this only at sites where there is enough staff to monitor this practice. Site personnel must supervise all children on site while they are eating. Ensure that all children in attendance at the site receive one meal before any child is served a complete second meal or any adult meals are served. Adult meals are not reimbursable. Adhere to local health and sanitation regulations. Make adequate arrangements for food service during inclement weather if meals are usually served in an outdoor site. This could include an alternate indoor site, a shady spot for hot days, or discontinuance of meal service. If discontinued, sponsor must notify the state agency and the public in advance of the meal service being discontinued. And sponsors must serve meals during the times of meal service submitted on the summer site application and approved by the state agency. State agency must approve any changes in meal service times. So if you have to change times of your meal services, you must notify us ahead of time for us to change it on your application. If we discover you're serving meals outside of times that were approved and you didn't tell us, you will not be reimbursed for those meals. Meals must be consumed on site in order to be eligible for reimbursement unless the meal is served on a field trip with proper notification to the state agency or off-site consumption is otherwise approved by FNS. In extenuating circumstances, sponsors may allow off-site consumption of meals as long as meals taken off-site are not claimed for reimbursement. Failure to meet this congruent feeding requirement results in the disallowance of meals and may lead to a determination of serious deficiency of the sponsor's operation of the program. However, sponsors may allow a child to take one fruit, vegetable, or grain item off-site for later consumption without prior state agency approval, provided this is in compliance with state and local health and sanitation codes. Again, this is not required. It's your choice. If you do this as a sponsor, you must make sure your state, local, or county health department allows it. And you must make sure you have enough staff on hand in your dining room to monitor this. The food item taken off site must be from the child's own meal. Sponsors should allow an item to be taken off site only if they have adequate staffing to properly administer and monitor the site and to ensure that issues particularly related to food safety and program integrity do not arise. State agency has been permitted to approve summer program sponsors to serve suppers in place of lunches in certain circumstances, including where an area is eligible for the program, but sites, meal preparation facilities, or staff are not available for a lunch meal service, or an organization has developed late afternoon or evening programs for children in low-income areas to keep them occupied in the summer months, but do not have sufficient resources to provide children with meals. Therefore, the state agency may approve a sponsor to serve a supper in place of a lunch when it is feasible and appropriate. Except for camps and migrant sites, sponsors are not allowed to serve a supper and a lunch at the same sites. Sponsors have the discretion to serve meals to anyone. However, only meals served to children may be claimed as reimbursable meals. Along with children ages 18 and younger, summer program regulations also define children as persons over 18 years of age who are determined by the state or local education agency or a public education agency as having a mental or physical disability and who participate during the school year in a public or private nonprofit school program established for the mentally or physically disabled. Therefore, meals served to any person who meets the above definition may be claimed as reimbursable meals. Meals served to adults must be reported differently than those served to children, depending on the classification of the adult served as either a program or a non-program adult. Program adults work directly with the meal service at the site as either volunteers or paid employees. Meals may be served free to adults who meet this definition, but that is your program cost. You cannot claim these meals. These meals may not be claimed as a reimbursable meal, but may be counted as legitimate operating costs. Non-program adults do not work in any direct way with the meal service at the site, such as a parent or guardian or teacher, etc. Sponsors have the option to serve meals to non-program adults at no charge or charge a fee for the meal. The cost of meals served to non-program adults must be counted as part of the sponsor's operating costs only if the adult pays, or non-program funds must cover the meal. So if you have teachers and stuff at your site that you want to feed during the summer program, the teachers must pay for those meals, which is the entire reimbursement you're going to receive, or your program funds. If your school, it'd be your general fund. If you're a nonprofit, it would be your other funds that you don't receive from us, has to pay for those adult meals, and you have to have paperwork showing that you have kept track of this and you have paid the summer program back for these meals. If meals are served to non-program adults, sponsors must either charge the adults at least the full cost of the meal, which I just said, the entire reimbursement plus labor, or use other non-program funds. I just explained that. Additionally, when a sponsor chooses to serve meals to adults, the following rules must be observed. All children must be fed first. Income from the sale of adult meals and non-program funds used to pay for adult meals must be documented as income to the program to offset documented costs, and meals served to children, including second meals, program adults, and non-program adults must be counted and recorded separately on the daily meal count form. And all that is on that form, and that form is supplied for you on our website. Calculation of meal costs should be based on the full cost of producing the meal, i.e. food, supplies, labor, and other costs incurred by the sponsor. Sponsors also should include the value of the USDA foods used to prepare the meal, or this value may be based on the current year annual entitlement per meal value of USDA foods. Serving family-style meals, which can only take place at camps, can help children develop good eating habits through personal example provided by supervising adults. Camp enclosure roadsides offering the best setting for implementing family-style meals, provided that adults are available to assist children during the meal and staff and children are together for an extended period of time to provide a relaxed, stable environment conducive for teaching good eating habits. Family-style meal service should not be used at any other type of site. If a family-style meal service is allowed by the state agency at camp and enclosure roadside, sponsors must ensure that a sufficient amount of food must be placed on each table to provide the required portions of each of the food components for all children at the table and to accommodate program adults supervising the meal service if they eat with the children. Children are allowed the choice in selecting foods on the side of initial serving. Children should initially be offered the full required portion of each meal component. When a child does not initially accept the full required portion of a meal component, it is the responsibility of the supervising adults to actively encourage each child to accept the service of the full required portion for each food component of the meal pattern. For example, if a child initially refuses the food component or initially does not take the full required portion of a meal component, the supervising adult should offer the food component to the child again. Sponsors are required to notify the state agency of all field trips that affect the time or location of meal service. Although formal approval of the alternative meal service is not a federal requirement, whenever sponsors plan field trips that may affect the time or location of meal services, the state agency must be informed. Sponsors also are advised to notify the food service vendor in advance of any trips if applicable. It may be helpful for sponsors to provide a calendar of scheduled trips for the program application if trips are scheduled in advance. The field trip notification form is located on our webpage. Sponsors must complete and submit the form to the state agency at least 72 hours before any field trips. Furthermore, sponsors should notify the state agency of any changes, additions and or cancellations to its scheduled field trips. If the state agency is not notified prior to the field trip, meals served may be considered consumed off-site and may not be reimbursed. Sponsors serving meals off-site also must carefully ensure the safety and quality of the meal by using adequate storage equipment to transport them. Because even though they take a field trip, they still have to have a milk. You have to have a way to keep that milk cool and the other food items on the field trip. Sponsors must establish meal times for each site and provide this information to the state agency. Therefore, when applying to participate in the program or providing annual updates of program information, sponsors must provide the state agency with information regarding the times of the meal service at each site, but are not required to ensure that specific time periods elapse between the meal services. If you are an open site and you take a specific group of kids on a field trip, you still have to have staff members at your site still open to the kids in the neighborhood that would like to come out and have a meal. Okay, we are going to move on to the next slide section. This training section is going to talk about staffing your program and your sites. In this training, we'll review information on determining the number of staff members needed to effectively run the program and staff members' responsibilities. The size and type of a sponsor summer program will dictate many of the sponsor staffing needs. Depending on the sponsor's program, many positions will require only part-time employment, particularly in the planning and closeout phases. The need for record-keeping personnel varies according to the size of the program. To meet program monitoring requirements, USDA recommends no less than one monitor for every 15 to 20 sites in urban areas. The number of monitors necessary for rural sites may increase depending on the geographic area to be covered. Also, varied opening and closing dates of individual site operations affect staffing needs. In every case, however, the sponsor must provide adequate personnel for overall program management and monitoring. The following slides provide examples of duties and responsibilities by positions. Summer program director will annually attend state agency training, provide overall management and supervise the summer program, select sites, submit applications and agreements to the state agency, correspond with the state agency, coordinate with other agencies and conduct outreach efforts, hire, train, and supervise staff, arrange for food preparation or delivery, ensure that all monitoring requirements are met, adjust meal orders, submit claims, ensure civil rights compliance is practiced at all times, handle all agreements and contracts, bidding, and negotiations with vendors for purchased meals. Your assistant director will provide initial and ongoing training for sponsor and site personnel, design forms for record keeping purposes, act as a liaison with vendor to adjust meal delivery, double check claims, maintain time and attendance records of your staff, and maintain records of the number of meals served at each of your sites. Your area supervisor will schedule monitoring visits, check monitoring reports, prepare weekly summaries of monitoring efforts, provide ongoing training for monitors, visit sites with monitors, determine need for and following through on corrective actions, review the meal count submitted by sites for unusual meal count patterns, e.g. first meals usually equals meals delivered, oversee several monitors, and report site problems to the director or assistant director. The bookkeeper will maintain the following records: daily site reports, invoices and bills, food costs, labor costs, administrative costs, other costs, program income, prepare claims, prepare payroll, and purchase office supplies if applicable. Your monitors are critical to the successful operation of your summer program sites. These are the eyes and ears providing valuable feedback about how the sites are operating by visiting sites on a regular basis and observing meal services. The sponsor is required to hold annual trainings on program duties for its monitors and their sponsor personnel. So you as a sponsor are required to train all of your personnel at your sites, including your monitors. The monitor will be trained to check on site operations to ensure that site personnel maintains records, ensure the program operates in accordance with the requirements, visit all sites within the first 2 weeks of food service operations if they are new sites or if they had issues last year. Review food service operations of all sites within the first 4 weeks of operation. Prepare reports of visits and reviews. Report unresolved or critical issues to the director. Revisit sites as necessary. Suggest corrective action for problems encountered. Ensure that sites take corrective actions and conduct on-site training as necessary. The monitor visits sites on a regular basis and observes the meal service operations. At a minimum, again, the USDA says you need 1 monitor for every 15 to 20 sites in an urban area. You may need more if you have multiple rural sites. At the monitor training session, the sponsor will do the following: explain monitor duties and responsibilities, distribute and review monitor site visit and review forms and any other records such as mileage records, train on procedures for monitoring meal counts, adjusting meal preparation or deliveries, reporting complaints to the vendor, and collecting site records. Monitors may be asked to attend the training session required for site supervisors and other staff members. This meeting will familiarize a monitor with the specific duties of site supervisors and allow them to meet the staff with whom they will be working with directly. During the reviews and visits, monitors will find it necessary to explain the importance of following program rules and show how operations can be improved. This type of ongoing training of site personnel is a basic responsibility of each monitor. It may be necessary to give new site workers additional training and program requirements. It is important to document this training in reports. Sponsor must ensure that the authority and responsibilities of its monitors are clear to monitoring staff, site supervisors, and office personnel. Sponsors must ensure that the following minimum monitoring requirements are met. Pre-operational visits. Sponsors must visit all new or problem sites before they begin operations. These visits are required to ensure the site has facilities to provide meal services for the number of children expected to attend. Site visits. All sponsors are required to visit all sites at least once during the first 2 weeks of operation. Site reviews. Sponsors must review all sites at least once during the first 4 weeks of program operations, or if your program is shorter than that. After this initial period, sponsors must conduct a reasonable level of monitoring. If a site operates less than 4 weeks, like I just said, the sponsor must still conduct a review before that program closes. Also, monitoring must continue throughout the duration of the program at a level sufficient to ensure that sites comply with program regulations. Effective monitoring is necessary for many reasons. Monitoring ensures that sites operate according to program rules and that accurate site records are available to justify payment to the sponsor. But most importantly, monitoring ensures that children in the community are getting nutritious meals. To be an effective monitor, it will be necessary to spend enough time at each assigned site to check the meal service operation. Therefore, it will be important to know the program requirements so problems at the sites can be identified quickly and solutions recommended. When monitors observe program operation sites, they usually make either a visit or a review. A site visit requires a monitor to ensure the food service is operating smoothly and any apparent problems are immediately resolved. For a visit, a monitor does not need to be present during the entire meal service. A site visit is typically done during the first 2 weeks of operation. These site visits must not be confused with the pre-operational visits. A pre-operational visit is conducted before the site begins food service operations. Pre-operational visits must be conducted for new sites and sites that had problems during the previous year. A site review, which is different than a visit, requires a monitor to determine if the site is meeting all the various program requirements. To accomplish this, the monitor will have to observe a complete meal service from beginning to end. This includes delivery or preparation of the meal service, and the cleanup after the meal service. Monitor will check meals at the site to see that the meal pattern requirements are being met. These requirements ensure well-balanced nutrition meals that supply the kinds and amounts of foods that children require, meeting their nutrient and energy needs. The monitor must make sure that the meal or snack service contains the required components for that meal or snack. At sites where offer versus service is allowed, this is only allowed for schools. The meals offered to participants must meet the meal pattern requirements. And again, you can find the summer meal pattern requirements on our website. When observing the meal service at the site, keep in mind safety rules, including temperature requirements during preparation, delivery, storage, and serving. Knowing the 5 core messages of clean, separate, cook, and chill will help keep the food served safe to eat. For more information on sanitation and food safety, contact your local county health department. In conducting the site review, plan to arrive before the meal service begins and plan to observe the entire meal service. Check to see that the site's non-discrimination poster is placed in a prominent place and that all children have equal access to meals served. Conduct a point of service meal count and compare your counts with those of the site supervisor's meal count when the meal is over. Complete the site monitoring form and obtain the site supervisor's signature. On the form, thoroughly explain the specific nature and extent of any problems observed and the action to be taken to correct the problem. An in-depth discussion on conducting the site review is located in the USDA Monitor's Guide. A first 2-week visit form and a site review form can also be found under forms on the web page. Use the forms on the state web page, not the ones in the handbook or the USDA or website. Records of pre-operational visits, site visits, and reviews will help sponsors assess the operation of sites. Records are only useful, however, when they are carefully reviewed by the sponsor personnel and when follow-up monitoring is scheduled to ensure that any corrective actions have been taken to improve site operations. Each sponsor must therefore design a system for handling monitoring reports. Sponsors must have a system that will ensure that monitors return reports frequently if possible, every day. The pre-operational site visit, and site review reports must be immediately reviewed by a specific member of the sponsor staff other than the monitor. The sponsor staff is responsible for following up on any problems. The staff members should review any problems found by the monitor, contact the site supervisor if necessary, document corrective action taken at the site, schedule a follow-up review if necessary, and sign and date the report. The sponsor staff must base the timing of a follow-up review on the severity of the problem. All problems need to be corrected within 24 hours minimum. When sponsors or their staff review monitor reports, they also should pay attention to the quality of the reports. There are several indicators that may be apparent in the monitor's reports that may suggest a program knowledge or a misunderstanding of the monitor's responsibilities. Some indicators that may indicate a monitor needs additional training are: the monitor did not answer all questions on the report, rarely noted problems and did not include comments in the remarks section of the report, or observed the number of meals delivered or served and the number of children who are in attendance are always the same, and yet does not follow up on the suspicious pattern to see if meal counts are being taken appropriately. Other indicators that monitors may need additional training are located in the USDA Administrative Guidance for Sponsors. This guidance manual is located on our webpage. The site supervisor will serve meals, clean up after the meals, ensure safety and sanitary conditions at the site, ensure the safety of food and comply with local health and safety standards, receive and account for delivered meals and ensure that children eat all meals on site, plan and organize daily activities, implement alternate food service arrangements during inclement weather, take accurate meal counts at point of service. The site supervisor, the individual on site for the duration of the meal service who has been trained by the sponsor, is responsible for all administrative management activities at a site, including, but not limited to, maintaining documentation of meal deliveries, ensuring that all meals served are safe, and maintaining accurate point of service meal counts. Sponsors are required to arrange a pre-operational training session for you, their staff. The training should cover the kind of meal service, whether it's going to be self-preparation or delivered, your site will have, the types of meals your site will serve, breakfast, lunch, snack, and or supper, the limit is 2, the times meals are delivered and served, recognizing and serving a complete meal, and the proper method for counting the meals served. What you as the staff members should do for your sponsor: attend training sessions provided by your sponsor before your site begins its summer program operations. Someone who has received program training must be present at each site when meals are being served. Order from your sponsor or prepare at your site only the number of meals that you need. Even with the most carefully planned programs, sites occasionally have more meals than they do children to eat the meals. Discuss with your sponsor if seconds may be served or what to do with leftovers. If you have ordered or prepared too many meals, contact your sponsor to change the number of meals delivered if you have many meals left over, or if you do not have enough meals to serve all the children by the end of the meal period. If you prepare the meals at your site, plan to change the number you prepare to meet the needs of your site for the next day. Check with your sponsor to see how meals will be delivered to your site. Count the number of meals delivered and check them thoroughly each day. Meals delivered should also be counted and checked for good program management. It is important to check food on delivery for proper temperatures. Make sure thermometers are available to check the temperature. Sign only for the number of acceptable meals delivered and write the time of delivery on the receipt. If everything has been delivered correctly, sign the receipt. If the delivery is not correct, do not sign the receipt without clearly writing on the receipt the problems with your site's delivery. You should immediately notify your sponsor of the problems you had that day with delivery. Keep a copy of the delivery receipt and meal count record with your daily report. The delivery receipt should identify what meal was delivered, the number of meals delivered, the date and time of delivery, and match the menu for the day the meals were delivered and served. Your sponsor will let you know how when your receipts and daily meal count form will be submitted to the sponsor. Must count meals at the point of service. This helps to make sure that the meal counts are accurate. At the end of each meal, record on the data report form provided by the sponsor the number of complete breakfasts, lunches, snacks, or suppers you served as first meals or as second meals if your sponsor allows them. Make sure the meals served meet the meal pattern requirements and serve one complete meal to each child. Serve only one meal to each child during approved meal service time. After all children receive one complete meal, you may serve a limited number of second meals if the sponsor permits. Be sure that children eat the entire meal at the site unless the sponsor allows one item, either a fruit, vegetable, or grain, to be taken off site. Make sure your sponsor allows this. Do not allow parents to eat any portion of their child's meal. Serve meals to children 18 years or younger or people with physical or mental disabilities to participate in special programs, school programs for the disabled. Never serve, sorry, I'll fix my slide for you. Never serve spoiled food or incomplete meals to children. Contact your sponsor immediately if you receive spoiled or incomplete meals so the sponsor can resolve the problem. Allow all children equal access to services and facilities at your site, regardless of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. In a prominent place, display a non-discrimination poster provided by your sponsor. If your site is outdoors, you may want to take the poster back and forth each day or attach it to the coolers or warming units. Make program material provided by your sponsor available to the public upon request, and comply with any guidance provided by the monitors. It is very important that participants understand the rules for the summer program. Although signs and posters around the site will help both children and neighborhood adults remember the rules, you should make sure they understand the rules. Before mealtime of your program, take time to talk with the children about the following: who may eat at the site, which is children 18 years or younger, or those disabled who participate in school during the school year, when the meals will be served, where the meals will be served and whether it's bad, what type of meals will be served, why meals must be eaten at the site unless your sponsor allows one item from the fruit, vegetable, or grain to be taken off site. All food must be eaten by the children at the site. This is to ensure the safety of the food and that the food is consumed by the child. The meal pattern requirements ensure well-balanced nutrition meals that supply the kinds and amounts of food that children require to help meet their nutrient and energy needs. You must make sure that meals served at your site meet the meal pattern requirements listed. Compare the menus of the meals to be served at your site with these requirements and learn to recognize incomplete, non-reimbursable meals. Here are some basic food safety rules to keep in mind. Bacteria can grow rapidly between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which includes room temperature. This is known as the danger zone. Avoid holding foods in this temperature danger zone. Do not hold a food in the temperature danger zone for longer than 2 hours. After 2 hours, you must discard or throw away the food. Keep meals and milk not being served at the time in the refrigerator or cooler at a temperature of 40. All right, let's just start that over. Keep meals and milk not being served at the time in the refrigerator or cooler at a temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Hot meals should be in a warming unit or insulated box at a holding temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit or more. Remember that you cannot determine food safety by sight, taste, odor, or smell. These are some summer program rules that you can do. Do prepare or order only the number of meals needed. Do count the meals as they are received. Do count the meals to be sure you have received all the menu items and that none of the items are damaged or spoiled. Do clean the site before you serve the meal. Do put up the approved non-discrimination poster. Do serve the meals only during the assigned time period. Do prepare and serve the meal according to state and local health and safety standards. And do serve the children in an organized manner at meal times. Serve each child all menu items at one time. Do count and record the number of complete meals that are given out. Do count complete second meals separately if your sponsor allows seconds. Do complete the daily records in a timely manner. Do encourage the children to try new foods and do clean the site after the meals. Excuse me. Okay, this concludes this part 1 section of the training. And you will be given questions and a test at the end, and you must pass the test to be recorded as completing the training.